Alright, so let's start this broadcast with what is happening in France. It's the big day and voting has begun to elect the next president of the French Republic. There are a total of 12 candidates who are in the running for the presidency, but the top two who seem to have an early lead in the opinion polls, of course, are Emmanuel Macron and Marine Le Pen. Remember, Marine Le Pen, the far-right candidate, was the closest of the rivals to the incumbent president back in 2017. But back then, it was a landslide victory to Emmanuel Macron. So let's see what's changed the last 5 years. The two leaders come from very different ideologies. Now, what's also interesting is that Emmanuel Macron likes to describe himself as a centrist, but he's also said that the differences between the right and the left simply do not matter in France anymore. Marine Le Pen, however, is clear with her ideology. She's a far-right leader. She's seeking to win of course, win an election and topple Emmanuel Macron. So let's look at the promises that have been made by the two, starting with the economy and employment situation. Macron, over the last 5 years, has struggled and has struggled bad. Le Pen has promised tax cuts, but the incumbent has said that the government will now toughen the security laws against growing terrorism. On the other hand, Le Pen has kept her focus on domestic issues like increasing social benefits for the French people. Emmanuel Macron has also vowed to gradually raise the retirement age from 62 to 65. This is being seen to be very unpopular with voters who are already facing a cost of living crunch. Remember, Emmanuel Macron faced a lot of flack for bringing down pensions, which started off the Yellow Vest protest movement against him. On the other hand, the far-right leader plans to exempt companies from taxes only if they raise the minimum wage by about 10%. Now, on the issue of immigration and for the French people, this, of course, is a big deal. Besides pensions, they're very worried about immigration. This is a core issue in the country. Marine Le Pen is known for her hard anti-immigration stance. She's promised to halt the abuse of the right to asylum, and Marine Le Pen plans to bring in a referendum on restricting immigration into France. Whereas Macron has said that he wants to strengthen the free borders and also to eliminate illegal migration into the country. The French president is also in talks to form a new group to get rid of extremism. The body will include clergy and laymen and women, and he wishes to give Islam what he describes as a bit of a French makeover or a French interpretation of the religion. Many would say that in France, religion and the state should stay apart. Now, Marine Le Pen has taken a pretty eye-raising pledge. She has said that she will ban Islamic hijab in public areas. Remember, the face veil is already banned in France, and now she wants to take it further and she wants to ban hijab altogether. All right, now to give us more insights in terms of what is likely to play out in this election, what are the issues that people in France are voting for, we're joined in by Ross Collins, who's joining us live from Paris with more updates. Good morning to you, Ross. This, of course, is the big day in France where the French public will be deciding on who will be their president next. But give us a sense of, what are the issues that are on top of the mind of the French public as they go into vote today?
Well, polling has got underway here in mainland France, beginning at 8 a.m. local time. You can see a polling station behind me here in the centre of the French capital. It will last until 8 p.m. local time here in Paris, closing slightly earlier in some other parts of the country. Voting actually got underway on Saturday in France's overseas departments, places like Réunion, the Indian Ocean, also Guadeloupe and Martinique in the Caribbean. If you are a French citizen living overseas, you can also vote a day early on Saturday. So expats in countries like the United States were able to go to embassies and consulates to cast their ballots. But for 48 million French people here in mainland France, today is the day to cast your vote for one of the 12 candidates running in this first round. It's a widespread kind of primary style battle, all the candidates fighting to finish in the top two and then to be able to advance to the runoff vote in 2 weeks' time. Purchasing power, the war in Ukraine, the environment. These are some of the key issues that are going through voters' minds as they cast their ballots. Today, we understand that the energy crisis has been one of the top agenda points for Marine Le Pen and her journey around the country, visiting hundreds of villages and towns over the last 6 months to try to underscore that she believes that her programme for bringing down energy prices, reducing the cost of living for voters, believes that her programme is the best. And she is fighting at the moment to try to get into the top two. It's most likely at the moment that Emmanuel Macron, the incumbent president, and Marine Le Pen of the right-wing nationalist National Rally Party will be the two candidates who do go through to the second round.
Absolutely, indeed. That appears to what may happen. That's according to the opinion polls. But tell us a bit about, how this is shaping up for Emmanuel Macron, because in the weeks leading up to the election date, it appeared that Emmanuel Macron had a very healthy lead in the opinion polls. But Marine Le Pen now seems to have caught up with him.
He did have a healthy lead. You're right. In March, we saw those opinion polls towards the end of March, even at the very start of April, showing that due to this bounce he got from what's known as a rallied round the flag effect, when the public favours stability rather than a possible change of leader, all tied to the war in Ukraine. Emmanuel Macron was trying to play these three roles of president, campaigner and a wartime diplomat. We know those regular phone calls he was having with Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, to try to broker a peaceful route for dialogue, and regularly speaking on the phone as well to Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, and other Western allies for France, like President Biden of the United States and Prime Minister Johnson of the United Kingdom. So we did see that bounce for Emmanuel Macron, but in the last 10 days or so, Marine Le Pen has been whittling away at his lead, and it now down to around about 25, anywhere between 25 and 27% of first-round votes, according to polls, will be going to Emmanuel Macron. Around 20 to 22% of first-round votes could be going to Marine Le Pen. So that is the decision that voters face today. We have seen a late surge from the far-left leader, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, from the France Unbowed party. He is trying to show that there is a coherent left message from the left-wing parties that rivals Marine Le Pen's, to try to get into the second round. We have seen there are a lot of parties on the left of French politics, from the Communist Party to the Anti-Capitalist Party to the Workers' Party, along with the mainstream Socialist Party, all of them trying to bounce back, because we have seen a real demolition of left-wing policies, particularly since Emmanuel Macron came to power in 2017, really upsetting that traditional balance with the centre-right Republicans and the centre-left Socialists, trying to create his own space for what was known as this radical centrism of Emmanuel Macron. But anyway, he is going to be trying to reinforce his programme, his policies, and try to get through to the second round in 2 weeks' time.
Absolutely, indeed. And lastly, Ross, one of the things that Emmanuel Macron mentioned is that he did not campaign enough, he did not get his feet wet enough. Tell us a bit about, what the mood is like amongst the French public. What kind of a voter turnout can we expect? Because the campaigning ahead of this election simply was not what one would have expected.
No, it haven't, and there are people trickling in. It's a Sunday morning here in Paris. There are people turning out to vote. One of the fears for election monitors is what the rate of abstentionism will be like. There have been some surveys carried out in March, in early April as well, that point to a large number of voters could be choosing to stay at home rather than cast their vote. So that is something that the parties, particularly Emmanuel Macron's party, Republic on the Move, En Marche, will be wanting to try to counter those fears. Some people do believe that there is a sense of complacency trickling into the Macron camp, with Emmanuel Macron in the last couple of days admitting that he regrets not starting his campaign earlier. He said he was devoting a lot of his time, too much time perhaps he believes, to dealing with international diplomacy in the war in Ukraine rather than the domestic election campaign. So there could be that sense of complacency among some voters, something that Emmanuel Macron and all the 11 other candidates will be trying to counter, to try to get their message out and to try to get the voters coming to polling stations to cast their ballots.
Right, we'll have to leave that. Thank you very much indeed, Ross Collins, for joining us from Paris and getting us all those updates. We'll of course come back to you as the voting progresses in the day. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.